The moment security guard Dave said, "Ma'am, please follow us to the back office. We need to search your bag," Imani Carter quietly pulled out her phone. Instagram open, 8.5 million followers visible on the screen, and calmly said, "I'm going live." The air in the store froze. In the next 90 seconds, everything unraveled. Imani's steady but powerful voice exposing the discrimination. Thousands of comments flooding in instantly. Store manager Jennifer spiraling into panic, and the brand so urgently calling in. What began as a simple shopping trip at Elite Noir became something far greater. A historic crisis where corporate racism was exposed in real time to millions of people. Before the story starts, drop a comment. Which city are you watching from? And if you stand for justice and equality, share this story and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can make our voices stronger. The Saturday afternoon sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Elite Noir's flagship store on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, casting dramatic shadows across marble floors and illuminating the luxury fashion displays that had made the brand synonymous with high-end elegance. Imani Carter pushed through the heavy glass doors, her oversized sunglasses perched on her head, wearing distressed jeans, a vintage band t-shirt, and white sneakers, deliberately casual, deliberately understated. At 20 years old, Imani had already lived a career most models only dreamed of. Discovered on Instagram at 16 by a scout who noticed her striking features and natural confidence, she'd shot her first Vogue cover at 18, walked runways for Chanel and Versace, and built an Instagram following of 8.5 million people who saw her as more than just a pretty face. She was a voice for representation, authenticity, and unapologetic Black excellence in an industry that had historically excluded faces like hers. Last Tuesday, she'd signed the contract that would define the next phase of her career. Elite Noir's first African-American global brand ambassador in the luxury fashion house's 83-year history. A $5 million deal spanning 2 years, with her face set to launch their fall collection in the most ambitious campaign the brand had ever produced. The official announcement was scheduled for Monday morning, just 48 hours away. A carefully orchestrated press conference that would position Elite Noir as a leader in fashion's long-overdue diversity revolution. But today, Imani was here incognito. She wanted to experience the brand's flagship store as a regular customer, to understand the environment she'd soon represent, to see if the company's public commitment to inclusion matched the reality on their retail floor. So she dressed down, removed her usual designer accessories, and entered anonymously to observe. The store's interior was stunning. White marble, gold accents, and artistic displays of clothing that looked more like museum pieces than merchandise. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers, and impeccably dressed sales associates glided between displays with practiced grace. Everything about Elite Noir whispered exclusivity, luxury, and price points that started at 4 figures. Imani moved toward a rack of evening gowns, running her fingers across silk and satin fabrics. Behind her, she caught movement in her peripheral vision. A security guard had begun following her. Not obviously, not aggressively, but unmistakably tracking her movements through the store. The guard was a white man in his mid-40s, stocky build, his name tag reading Dave Wilson. His eyes never left Imani as she browsed, maintaining a distance of about 15 feet, but matching her pace exactly. When she moved to examine a display of handbags, Dave moved closer. When she picked up her phone to check a message, his hand moved to his radio. Imani had experienced this before, the phenomenon Black shoppers called shopping while Black. The assumption of criminality, the constant surveillance, the unspoken message that you don't belong in spaces like this. But experiencing it in a store where she was about to become the face of the brand added a bitter irony that made her stomach turn. She continued browsing, now hyper-aware of Dave's presence behind her. She picked up a clutch purse, price tag showing $2,400, examining the craftsmanship. Dave's radio crackled softly, and she heard him murmur something about suspicious behavior. Suspicious behavior. She was looking at merchandise in a retail store, the exact behavior the store existed to encourage. But apparently, when she did it, it became suspicious. Imani moved to a rack of designer dresses, and Dave followed. A white couple browsing nearby was completely ignored by security, free to examine items, try things on, move through the store without surveillance. But Imani couldn't take 3 steps without her shadow following. She pulled out her phone, opening Instagram. Her follower count had grown since this morning. 8.5 million people who trusted her voice, who looked to her for authenticity in an industry full of artifice. Her finger hovered over the live button as she made a decision that would change everything. But before she could start streaming, a woman's voice cut through the classical music. "Excuse me, miss." Imani turned to find the store manager approaching. A white woman in her early 50s named Jennifer Walsh according to her elegant name tag. Jennifer's smile was professionally polite, but her eyes were cold, assessing. "Yes," Imani replied calmly. "I'm Jennifer Walsh, the store manager. I need to speak with you about a security concern." "A security concern?" Imani repeated, keeping her voice neutral. Jennifer glanced at Dave, who'd moved closer, his bulk now just a few feet behind Imani. "We've had some reports of shoplifting in this section today. I'm going to need to ask you to come with me to the back office so we can check your bag." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Other customers were starting to notice now. Conversations dying, heads turning, phones emerging from expensive purses. Imani felt the familiar burn of humiliation mixed with rage, but years of modeling had taught her to control her expression. "Reports of shoplifting," Imani said slowly. "And you're asking to search my bag because—" "Standard protocol when we have security concerns," Jennifer replied, though her tone suggested nothing standard about it. "If you have nothing to hide, it should only take a moment." "I see." Imani's hand tightened on her phone. "And have you stopped anyone else in the store for bag searches? That couple over there examining the watches? The woman in the shoe section?" Jennifer's expression hardened. "Miss, I don't appreciate your tone. If you refuse to comply with a security check, I'll have to ask you to leave the store." Dave's hand had moved to his radio again, clearly ready to call for backup if needed. Other customers were openly staring now, some looking uncomfortable, others with expressions that suggested they thought the security concern was justified. Imani made her decision. She held up her phone, opening Instagram to her profile page where 8.5 million followers were displayed prominently. Then she tapped the live button. "Hey everyone," Imani said calmly, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent store. "I'm here at Elite Noir's 5th Avenue flagship, and I want to show you something important." Jennifer's face went pale as she recognized what was happening. "Miss, you can't. I'm Imani Carter." Imani continued, watching her viewer count explode. 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000 people joining in seconds. "Some of you know I'm a model. What you might not know is that on Monday, Elite Noir is announcing me as their new global brand ambassador. A $5 million deal, their first Black American face, a huge step forward for diversity in luxury fashion." The viewer count hit 5,000. Comments were flooding in faster than the system could display them. "But right now, I'm being accused of shoplifting," Imani said, her voice still calm but carrying steel. "The store manager and security have been following me, watching my every move, and now they want to search my bag in the back office. Not because I've actually done anything suspicious, because I'm a young Black woman in a luxury store, and apparently, that's suspicious enough." Jennifer's hand went to her own radio, her voice cracking with panic. "I need corporate on the line immediately. We have a situation." "This is the situation," Imani continued, turning the camera to show Dave and Jennifer, both frozen in the realization that this moment was being broadcast to thousands. "This is what shopping while Black looks like in 2024. This is what happens when companies talk about diversity and inclusion in their press releases, but allow racial profiling on their retail floors." The viewer count hit 15,000. Imani's phone was burning hot in her hand, notifications exploding so fast they were just a constant vibration. I haven't stolen anything, Imani said, holding her small crossbody bag up to the camera. I've been browsing for maybe 20 minutes. I picked up items, looked at price tags, and put them back down. Exactly what every other customer in this store is doing. But I'm the only one being followed by security. I'm the only one being accused. A white woman in an expensive suit stepped forward from the gathering crowd. I'm an attorney. I witnessed this entire interaction. This young woman did nothing suspicious. I saw security following her from the moment she entered, and I saw other customers, white customers, handling merchandise without any surveillance. Another customer pulled out their phone, showing their own recording. I got it all on video. The security guard has been stalking her while ignoring everyone else. Jennifer looked like she might faint. Please, Miss Carter, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If you'll just end the live stream, we can discuss this privately. Privately? Imani's eyebrows rose. Like in your back office where there are no cameras? Where you can search me away from witnesses and claim you found something I never took? No, I think we'll keep this very public. Her phone buzzed with an incoming call from a number she recognized. Martin Castellano, Elite Noir's CEO. She answered on speakerphone, holding it close to her chest so the Instagram Live could still run, but Castellano's voice wouldn't broadcast. Imani, it's Martin. I'm watching your Instagram Live, along with 30,000 other people. What the hell is happening? Your Fifth Avenue store is racially profiling your new brand ambassador, Imani replied quietly. Your store manager and security guard accused me of shoplifting and tried to search my bag. Not based on any actual evidence, based on the color of my skin. Put Jennifer on the phone. Imani handed the phone to the store manager, whose hand shook as she took it. She listened for a moment, her face cycling through several shades of pale before she whispered, "Yes, sir. I understand. Yes, sir." Jennifer handed the phone back to Imani, tears now streaming down her carefully made-up face. Martin's voice came through clearly. "Imani, I am so deeply sorry. This is unacceptable. Jennifer Walsh and Dave Wilson are terminated effective immediately. Please don't let this destroy everything we've been building." Imani looked at the viewer count, 47,000 people now watching live. The comments were a blur of outrage, support, and demands for accountability. "Martin, here's what I want," Imani said, still broadcasting to her millions of followers. "Not terminations, those are just public relations moves. I want systematic change. I want mandatory bias training for every employee in every Elite Noir location worldwide. I want diverse hiring at management levels. I want regular audits of customer service by race. And I want all of it transparent and publicly reported." She paused, letting that sink in. "And I want Jennifer and Dave to be the first people to go through the new training program. I want them to confront their biases, understand what they did wrong, and help teach other employees to recognize their own prejudices." The store had gone completely silent except for Imani's voice and the soft ping of thousands of comments flooding her phone. "Done," Martin said immediately. "All of it. Whatever you need. Just please, give us the chance to make this right." Imani looked at Jennifer, who was openly sobbing now. At Dave, whose face showed a mixture of shame and horror as he understood his casual racism had just been exposed to millions. At the other customers, some nodding in approval, others looking uncomfortable at having their own complicity in remaining silent exposed. "This isn't about revenge," Imani told her live audience, now exceeding 60,000 viewers. "This is about change. Real change, not just corporate statements and diversity photo ops. This is about making sure the next young black woman who walks into a luxury store is treated with the same respect as everyone else." She looked directly at the camera. "I'm still going to be Elite Noir's brand ambassador. Not because they're perfect, but because I'm going to make sure they become better. I'm going to use this platform, these millions of followers, and this $5 million contract to force real accountability. That's what representation means. Not just being the face in the ads, but being the voice demanding the industry do better." The live stream ended at 73,000 viewers after Imani made her statement. Within an hour, it had been screen recorded and shared across every social media platform, racking up over 8 million views by evening. News outlets picked up the story. Civil rights organizations issued statements. And Elite Noir faced the biggest crisis in its 83-year history. But true to Imani's demands, the company followed through. Jennifer and Dave became the first participants in a comprehensive 60-hour bias training program designed by external civil rights consultants. The program rolled out to all 2,400 Elite Noir employees worldwide within 6 months. The company implemented mystery shopper audits with diverse participants, published quarterly diversity reports, and completely restructured their hiring practices. Imani's official campaign launched as scheduled, but with an added element, a documentary-style component showing her work to reform the company from the inside. The campaign's tagline became "Beauty with Accountability," and sales actually increased as customers responded to the brand's transparency about its failures and commitment to change. Jennifer Walsh, after completing her training, became one of the program's most effective instructors, using her mistake as a powerful teaching tool about unconscious bias. Dave Wilson left retail entirely, but his testimony about how normal his profiling behavior had seemed became a crucial element of the training materials. And Imani continued using her platform to call out discrimination wherever she encountered it, proving that representation meant more than just being visible. It meant being vocal, demanding, and unwilling to accept injustice even when it came wrapped in luxury packaging and $5 million contracts. Sometimes change required the courage to live stream your humiliation to millions of people. Sometimes justice required turning your trauma into testimony. And sometimes the most powerful thing a person could do was refuse to be silent, even when, especially when, silence would be more comfortable for everyone else.